Hey there, this is TJR from Music Worth Buying, and it is time now for my Week 2 wrap-up of the iTunes Music Festival. And once again, every day in the month of September, iTunes is hosting a festival, a free music concert, at the Roundhouse in London. And so last week was a short week, only 5 days, just Monday through Friday. This will be 7 days. And cutting off here, the cutoff point, of course, is last Friday. Saturday and Sunday will be for next week. And so here we go. Let's get into it. Now, day 6 was Tony Bennett and Imelda May. Imelda May, a fantastic female rockabilly singer. Her husband on lead guitar, who's an amazing guitar player. Their songs were just fantastic. I assume these were all original songs. There might have been some obscure rockabilly tunes that were remade, or possibly, but if they were, then I didn't recognize them. But otherwise, great songs. I'm surprised I've not heard of her sooner. I'm curious now to go check out her albums after watching this concert. So definitely check out Imelda May. And then also on that same day, Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett right now is on my list for Best Artist of the Week, Best Live Performance of the Week. And just, wow, great performance. You know, I'm not really, would say I'm into Tony Bennett, don't have any of his albums, don't have any of his music in my collection, but what a great performance he gave. And fantastic band. And whenever one of his band members took a solo and shined, he let them shine, and he just stood there respectively and watched them as they performed their solo. Just fantastic. Just terribly classy. Anyways, though, yeah, Tony Bennett, you definitely have to see if anything for that week. And there'll be one other artist that you definitely have to see, but I'll get to that in a moment. Day 7 was Calvin Harris, and I hope I can pronounce this right. It's spelled Kieza. I think it's pronounced Kieza. Now, Calvin Harris is a DJ. He's done tracks for other artists. That's fine. And I'm assuming the music that he played, I don't want to say performed because he's just playing pre-recorded music, he's DJing it, is stuff that he's worked on. But, you know, call me old-fashioned, call me old if you want. Call me an old fart if you want to. I don't, and I have nothing against DJs or what they do, but I just don't see how playing pre-recorded music is somehow a musical performance. I mean, I know he's mashing it up, he's, that sort of thing, but to me, I just don't see where that's a musical performance. If you like that sort of thing, it's just not my thing. But anyways, though, Kieza was kind of interesting. She had a DJ, but she was singing live. She was incorporating some live instruments. She was also incorporating dance because she has background as a ballet dancer. It wasn't my cup of tea. It might be yours, but if nothing else, be sure to check out her performance. And be sure to watch her solo piano rendition of What Is Love, Baby Don't Hurt Me, which has always been one of the most annoying songs I've ever heard in my life, one of the most annoying dance songs I've ever heard in my entire life. And she really turned it into something great, and I just thought it was fantastic what she did. So if nothing else, at least check out her rendition of that song. That was great. Now, day 8, Luke Sital Singh and Robert Plant. We'll get to Robert Plant in just a moment. Luke Sital Singh is a singer-songwriter. His voice has been compared a lot to Jeff Buckley, and I think that's appropriate. He's very talented, shows tremendous potential. I just felt like he didn't have enough of a band, enough of a backup band to really bring his songs to the level that they need to be. He played some of his songs solo. He had a second guitarist join him on some tracks. He had a horn section join him on some tracks. He had a choir join him on some tracks. At one point near the end, close to the end, they all joined him on some of the songs. But I don't feel it was enough, in my opinion. It felt like this lineup, these accompanying players, were kind of thrown together at the last minute to help him with this. Later on, I did listen to some of his tracks from his album. You can do that. Of course, because you're on iTunes. And what a difference a drummer made! Just having a drummer in a full band. It was like a totally different artist. So I'm not sure why he couldn't get a full band for this show. I wished he had, but he's certainly worth checking out. Robert Plant is the other artist that you have to watch from this week. Fantastic performance, an amazing band. He was performing new tracks from his new album, which is fantastic, by the way. He also, surprisingly, was performing a lot of Zeppelin tracks, quite a lot. I was expecting that maybe he would just do one or two near the end, but he was really mixing it up with the Zeppelin songs. And one interesting thing they did with the Zeppelin songs is they did not do the Zeppelin versions. They did their own reimaginings of these songs. And Robert Plant's very good at reimagining Zeppelin tracks. Every time they would start one, they would tease the audience. You weren't sure what they were playing at first until usually Plant sang the first line of lyric in most cases. So that was really great. But yeah, him and Tony Bennett are my two front runners for best of the week, and I'm not sure which one to pick. There are times when I think maybe Tony Bennett a little bit more, which is surprising because I'm such a Zeppelin fan, and other times maybe Plant. But definitely you have to check out both of them. Now, day 9 was Son, S-O-H-N, hopefully I said that right, and Sam Smith. Son is an electro pop music artist. He spends the whole show seated at a keyboard with his hoodie over his head like he's like a druid. He has this very impassioned, emotional voice. The music he's doing is very trance-like. He's combining both music technology and live performance. Along with him was a bass player and a dedicated keyboardist. His music is very atmospheric. When he does use auto-tuning, he uses it for dramatic effect because he can really sing. He's an interesting performer, both mixing organic and technological music performances. It's somebody that I'm going to want to investigate a little further beyond this show, and you might too. Sam Smith, the headliner, is a pop singer from the UK. I would describe him as a modern-day crooner with an absolutely amazing band behind him. His songs are not really my thing, to be honest, but I like the performance of the band, his performance. I also like just how affable he was between songs. He really comes off so personably when he's talking to the audience, as if you were just there with him in his kitchen and he was like offering you a drink. He just comes off that way. I liked him, even if I wasn't that big a fan of the music, although there was one song he did which I think is going to end up being featured on Single of the Week, so stay tuned for that. Also, the next day, day 10, Jungle and Pharrell. Now, Jungle is a large dance band reminiscent of groups like, say, Earth, Wind and Fire, Casey and the Sunshine Band, in the respect that it's a large group and they're doing dance music. While there is a disco influence, there's also progressive music influences, which is a very unusual thing. I thought their songs were pretty good. I thought they would definitely require more listens before you could realize if you like these or not. But the one thing that I thought was not quite right about this group is you had 4 singers, which is nothing wrong with that, but throughout each song they all sang together in unison. Never at any one time did one of them take a lead vocal. And so kind of picture this, the backup vocals in, say, Earth, Wind and Fire, all these high-pitched, vocals as sung throughout the entire song, the body of the song. To me, that was too much. I think the songs would work better and we'd be better fully realized and have more definition if you let different members of the group who do sing, they had 4 of them, sing a lead vocal and let the others do backup vocals to that song, to that lead vocal. I think the songs would be more defined. But still an interesting band nonetheless. Now, Pharrell, of course, like everybody, I loved Happy. And I loved his collaboration with Daft Punk, Get Lucky. Loved that song too. I listened to his solo album, Girl, when it came out. Wasn't that taken by it, to be honest. Enjoyed the songs better in this performance. A live performance can do that to you, of course. He was just a great vocalist. The band was great. He had a lot of dancers on stage, which at first I didn't care for. I thought it was just too distracting. But then I saw he was using the dancers in, I thought, fairly effective and interesting and even very entertaining ways to where they helped convey the stories of the songs. He also did a lot of songs that he was not the artist on, but was songs that he was involved in creating. And that included, of course, Get Lucky from Daft Punk, and it also included, like, for instance, working with artists like Snoop Dogg, Drop It Like It's Hard, And as I watched this concert, I kept thinking, oh, really, he was involved in that song? Oh, really, he was involved in that song too? And so, very good. It reminded me a little bit of last year's performance by Nile Rodgers, where he stopped and said, if you're wondering why I'm doing all these songs by David Bowie and other artists, well, it's because I wrote them. And so I thought that was very cool. But yeah, I wasn't into all the songs he did, certainly not. But I certainly enjoyed his performance. But I also really liked how in between songs, he was just incredibly philosophical with the audience. And at one point he said, I know you think I'm all just trying to act like I'm cool, but inside, I'm bubbling up like a fan, just like you. And I thought that was really a great thing to say. And throughout the whole show, he was very philosophical. He kept getting very philosophical with the audience, and I loved what he had to say. You have to really watch the show to know what I'm talking about. But it's certainly a show worth watching. Now, day 11 was Maroon 5, Matthew Koma, and Nick Gardner. Now, Nick Gardner only did a 12-minute set, 3 songs. He is an individual who kind of has become a YouTube star, basically. 2 of the songs were covers, and he had a lot of it pre-recorded, although he did have a guitarist with him who added quite a bit to the performance. And he would just sing on the 2 cover songs. I thought the cover songs that he did were really cool renditions. He changed them up quite a bit. I thought they were very good. And he also had a sound engineer, DJ, too, as well, working with that as well, too. I'm assuming that both these 2 guys that were with him, the sound engineer and the guitarist, probably helped him put these arrangements together. I'm assuming, that he performed. I don't know. I could be wrong. But his 2 covers were good. His one original that he did solo on just the keyboard, I thought was very good. Probably the best song of his 3-song set. Kind of hard to really say too much when it's only 3 songs. Kind of hard to really, judge or evaluate. But he certainly shows lots of potential. Now, Matthew Kona was mixing pre-recorded tracks with live instrumentation. In fact, his opening track was completely pre-recorded. He had other music, a drummer and a bass player playing along to it, but he didn't do a thing. He just sat there running a soundboard while that track played. It was a female's voice on the track, and at least I think it was a female's voice. I don't think it was his. And then after that was done, he picked up his guitar and then began to play and sing for the rest of the show, although he did have pre-recorded tracks. And he did some interesting things where he would, sing and then let some samples go. I kind of found what I would call his rock star bravado strained, forced, and even cliched. Hello, London, that kind of stuff. And I don't think he was being ironic or satirical with it. I also felt that while he had a lot of interesting lyrical ideas, his melodies never really quite reached me or grabbed me. There were a couple songs I thought were kind of fun and were pretty good near the end, but otherwise I just felt like his melodies weren't doing a whole lot for me, but then maybe they'll do more for you, I don't know. And then finally, the headliners, Maroon 5. Now this is a band whose most of their radio hits I've just not really gotten into, so I've never really investigated their albums. I think they've had one radio hit that I've actually liked. But I have to admit, while I was not that into their songs during this performance, their performance was fantastic. Their lead singer is fantastic lead singer. The band, they're all phenomenal players. I just thought, that even if you are not into their songs, they're one heck of a really good live band. And if you like Maroon 5, so much the better for you. Day 12 was Nick Mulvey and Elbow. Now, Nick Mulvey does very moody, arty folk music, modern folk music. A bit of Dave Matthews thrown in, but not so world music sounding. He's a solid performer, a good musician. The band who was playing with him was good. But the songs didn't really appeal to me on the first listen. They might on subsequent listens. But mostly I felt like he wasn't really connecting with his audience. And I felt like the audience really wanted to connect with him. And I'm assuming a very new artist, so maybe that's just going to come with time for him. But that was the main thing about him that was kind of off-putting, was I just didn't feel like he was really in any way connecting with the audience, and thus not connecting with me as I'm watching him perform. Now, Elbow, on the other hand, I have one of their albums, and of course Robert, who co-hosts the show with me, is a huge fan of Elbow. They were fantastic. They remind me a lot of the Moody Blues and also early Genesis. and they were fun. They took their performance very seriously, but were still very fun. The lead singer, great at connecting with the audience. If you like these progressive bands, like I mentioned before, like Moody Blues and Early Genesis, you're going to like Elbow, and you definitely want to watch this performance. So that basically kind of sums it up. No like big surprises where like, wow, I wasn't expecting this, and like I did last week. But the two artists that I think you have to see, if nobody else, is Tony Bennett and Robert Plant. And so that's it for this week's wrap-up. I will hope to be back with you next week for another wrap-up. But one interesting little wrinkle in all this, when I started to look at the performers for today's performance, I couldn't watch the full performances on iTunes. I could only watch highlights. Now, maybe that'll change tomorrow. I'm going to check again. But if not, I'm not sure if I can really give any kind of what I consider to be a reasonably competent review with only a highlight. A highlight might only be one track. It might only be 3 tracks. So, and I'll do my best to blog on this. And of course, this is just my wrap-up. If you want to read my more in-depth commentary, go to facebook.com/musicworthbuying, click like, and, feel free to read, please read and please comment. And of course, we post a lot of other stuff on the Facebook page. And so I hope I can be back with you next week. I hope that this business of not having the full performance starting today is not going to be for the rest of the festival. I'm hoping I can catch all the rest of the acts and their full performance, I should say, not just highlights. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and hopefully see you next week. Take care.